No, Detroit, the sky is not falling. Keep your head up.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. It's a Monday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Dery with you on this Monday, January 29th and a Tuesday, January the 30th. Sad day, horrible day, everything else as the Lions season is over. San Francisco 49ers, of course, going to the Super Bowl. Lions lose last night 34-31. If you missed the post-game pod last night, please go back wherever you get your podcast, watch it on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We appreciate all of you for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. And again, subscribe on YouTube. We're at over 10,000 subscribers. So please do that as well right here on Locked On Lions. Monday show today is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, Matt Dery Facebook fan page, on Threads at The Real Matt Dery. And also, as we mentioned, please watch us on YouTube. We got the PFF grades to go over. The lowest graded Lions defender. It's time to get him out of here. We'll get into that coming up momentarily as well. Much to do, plenty to do, and to go over on today's edition of Locked On Lions. There could be some coach attrition as well. As I've been telling you for the last few weeks, Washington's number one choice is Ben Johnson. Could the Lions be losing some other assistants? We'll get into that also here on Locked On Lions on this Monday edition. I know how many of you are feeling, and it sucks. It's sad, right? Some of you, I'm sure we're scrolling on your phone at halftime going, what's it going to cost to get to Vegas? What could tickets cost? What could airfare cost? What about hotel? Because the Lions were 30 minutes away from the soup. I mean, they were there. And they blew it. They gagged. They choked. Whatever you want to say. And a lot of the talking heads today, the experts, all coming out, oh, did the Lions lose it? Did Dan Campbell do this and that? Did the Niners even win it? San Francisco played two pretty poor games. Maybe, I would say, 3 out of 4 bad halves of playoff football, and they are going to the Super Bowl. All right. And this notion that the sky is falling and that Dan Campbell needs to go and that Jared Goff, maybe the Lion. I heard a caller today on the Cricket call in and actually say, I think we should trade for Justin Fields. Like, number one, Jared Goff is your quarterback and is going to be your quarterback for a long time. He's really good. Was it Jared Goff's fault on 4th and 2 as he's rolling right that nobody was open? Was it Jared Goff's fault that he hit Josh Reynolds on 4th and 3 and hit him in the hands? What about the other Reynolds drop? What about the J-Mo, oh, where's the ball? Oh, touchdown pass that he threw him down the left sideline? Come on, folks. Is it Jared Goff's fault that Jack Fox kicks an 80-yard punt and Chase Lucas can't down it at the 1? There were a lot of mistakes made yesterday, especially in the second half, after a crisp and clean and dominant first half. And now this quarterback wants to be here, is under contract next year for $25 million, which is a bargain. And he's coming back. Yes, I get it. Dan Campbell said after the game, I told the team, you might never get that back again. It's tough to get back. Dan Campbell is setting the tone for his team by saying that. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe he took it too far. Maybe he shouldn't have said that. Maybe he shouldn't have shared with the media what he said. But Dan Campbell is genuine from the heart, and that's who he is. It is not going to be easy to get back. But you know what? The Lions are young. They got a lot of good talent. They still play in the NFC North. Last I checked, the Bears stink. The Vikings, who's their quarterback? I want to see who their quarterback is. All right, Green Bay, they had a great second half. And Jordan Love looks like he's the real deal. All right, it's not going to be easy playing the Packers. Heck, they beat them already this year at Ford Field. Green Bay did. All right, schedule next year. You got to go back out to San Francisco. You're going to have to play, Indianapolis, who's up and coming, and Houston with CJ Stroud. There's going to be some tough games next year. Got to go out to Arizona. Never easy to travel all the way out there. Gannon's a good coach. All right. But the Lions have a good foundation, good pieces. Free agents are going to want to come here and play. Dan Campbell, I think, and to quote the legendary Ken Grace, Lions fan and founder of Financial Architects Inc. in Farmington Hills, little wisdom needs to be instituted and installed with Dan Campbell a little bit. You love the aggressiveness. You love the balls to the wall and all that stuff. But maybe, just maybe, with some of his decision-making, not all of it. I'm not asking him to change it at all. And again, Reynolds catches that ball. We're not talking about going for it on fourth down. They put it back in the backfield, Ben Johnson, and show the threat of the run. Maybe that play on 4th and 2 from the 30, down 3 is the better. I thought it was a horrible play. Worse than the play call of going for it. But maybe some wisdom with Dan Campbell to mix in with the aggressiveness for next year. He's still only in his 3rd year. Kyle Shanahan fans were ready to run out of town in San Francisco at times this season when the Niners won a 3-game losing streak. When the Niners at the end of the first half against Green Bay 2 Saturdays ago, fans were calling for his head. What is he doing? So conservative. Kyle Shanahan lost the last 2 NFC Championship games. Guess what? He won the 3rd. He's back in the Super Bowl for the 2nd time. The Lions can get back. I truly believe it. I'm not buttering up the cornbread. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Although I do like Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback from Bama. Bring me Kool-Aid. But you know what I'm trying to say. Sky's not falling. We're not trading for Justin Fields. We're not firing Dan Campbell and hiring Belichick. Ben Johnson's not getting fired. Ben Johnson's leaving on his own. He's going to be the coach of the Commanders. He's a damn good coach. Did he get too cute yesterday? Of course. What was Ben Johnson doing up 17, having Penei Sewell running routes? Stop. That was stupid. There were some dumb coached plays that went on yesterday. All right? Not just the 4th down play. Yeah, let's do one series where we got Skipper over here, we got Sewell running routes. No. Just, you want to go jumbo once in a while, fine. But let's run the rock. 8 carries in the second half. That was it. Jahmyr Gibbs. I know he fumbled, made a mistake. But then you never really saw him again. Get him the ball. I get you. Maybe you want Montgomery in the game, but don't get too conservative. Keep Jahmyr in the game plan. He's fumbled twice all year. He's a rookie. Twice. I'll take that. I feel for fans, man. I feel for the Lion fans. Man, it's right there. Right there for the taking. And Brock Purdy scrambling. Oh, God. Seen that song and dance before, right? That's a big, big play in the game. A couple of huge plays in the game. What did Pro Football Focus think of the top 5 and bottom 5 line, or who were the top 5 and bottom 5 line performers on offense and defense? We will get you those numbers, and then I will piggyback off of something that PFF pointed out about a player that I think I don't want to see next year on this team. We will do that coming up next. And no, it's not Cam Sutton. We'll do that coming up next right here on Locked On Lions. And our Monday show today is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports that is just so much fun. It's not just NFL now. You can do NBA as well. You can pick combo projections across football and basketball from their specials league. Right? If you've never done PrizePicks before, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. So if you think that LeBron James and Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl, put them in a combined 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions, you can have some fun with it at PrizePicks. Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks, whether it's Mahomes or Kelsey or Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy numbers, Debo Samuel, whatever it is, you can look at the rushing yards, passing yards, receiving yards, and make your selections at PrizePicks. It's easy, really simple to play. You make your picks, you submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. It is that simple. Just go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use promo code LockedOnNFL. Get a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports, made easy. I'm back with you on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks to our everydayers who are out there. Many of you have shouted me out on Twitter, Facebook, wherever we talk. Appreciate all of you that watch and listen to the show each and every day. Got tons of downloads, got a lot of views on YouTube, all because of you guys and girls. So thank you to all of the Lions fans. Please don't call it Lions Nation. Everything's a nation. Patriot Nation, Bruins Nation, Crimson Tide Nation. Let's not Lions Nation. It's one pride. All right. Lions fans. Everything's a nation now. Have you noticed that? It's annoying. Okay. Pro Football Focus. This is interesting. What did the experts at PFF think of some of the performances yesterday in the Lions' 34-31 loss to the 49ers? First and foremost, on offense, your top Lion performer was Penei Sewell at 92.2. Let me tell you something about Penei Sewell. He is the best right tackle in football. He is. He's a monster. No one gets around him in the passing game. The run game, he just moves bodies, and he is a star. When they do that top 100 list in the offseason, Penei Sewell is a top 20 NFL football player. He is. 92.2 grade yesterday. David Montgomery came in second at 81.3. Batting third, Frank Ragnow, 78.9. Another awesome year for the Lions center. Another, I think it was second team All-Pro. Sam Laporta, the Lions tight end, was fourth, 75.3 grade. Jared Goff, fifth, 73.3. Those are your top five Lions on offense from last night's loss. Bottom five on offense. Dan Skipper, 9 snaps, but a 31.9 grade. Josh Reynolds. Ugh. Poor J. Ray, man. He's a good football player, and he was horrible. 51.6. Coyote Awoshika, left guard playing for the injured Jonah Jackson. Never really grades out very well, but 53.2. Jahmyr Gibbs, 53.2. And the fifth lowest grade, Anthony Ferkser. How about when Ferkser made that catch down by the goal line? Everybody's like, who's that? All right, that's number 86. First target, first catch came in the NFC Championship game. 55.0. Those are your top five and bottom five Lions performers on offense. Now, I said this yesterday on the post-game pod. I was stunned to look up at the stats and see that Aiden Hutchinson didn't have a single tackle. And I'm like, what is PFF? Because they usually grade out Hutch very well. So what are we looking at here for Lion grades? First of all, the highest graded Lions defender last night was Brian Branch at a 77.0. But Brian Branch only played 27 snaps on defense. Believe the defense had 66 snaps for the night. Alex Anzalone played every snap. Branch only played a third of the snaps, 27. That is unacceptable. He's too good of a player to be on the sidelines. Aleem McNeil was second at 71.6. Third was Alex Anzalone, 71.5 grade. Malcolm Rodriguez had a good game for the injured Derek Barnes, 71.0. And Ifeatu Melifonwu, what a second half he had this year. 63.5 grade. Those are your top five Lion performers on defense. Bottom five. I'm going to go fifth down to worst. I'm going to reverse it this time. 5th worst was Romeo Quara, 45.5. 4th worst, John Kaminsky, 44.4. 3rd worst, Jalen Reeves-Maben, 44.4. Cam Sutton, 2nd lowest, 36.1. And at the bottom, played 33 snaps, CJ Gardner-Johnson, CD Deuce, whatever his name is, 33.9. Lowest score on the team. Or at least on the defense, excuse me. Aiden Hutchinson, by the way, finished 12th with a 53.7 grade. Hutch has had some grades in the 90s. Don't think that's his lowest of the season. Double check that. Aiden Hutchinson's lowest this season, 53.7. He had a 52.7 at Chicago. That was his 2nd lowest grade. The lowest was the Bears game. Let me say this about the grades. All right, I think they're pretty accurate. I'm not going to tell you that PFF doesn't make mistakes or that they're sometimes right or wrong on some things, but they are very right about CJ Gardner-Johnson and his 33.9. Every time I looked up, Gardner-Johnson wasn't guarding anybody. Gardner-Johnson was missing tackles. And oh, by the way, big mouth Gardner-Johnson smashes Deebo Samuel from behind on the interception by Rodriguez. Thank goodness it didn't cost him anything. But as Dan Campbell stated earlier in the week about the Gardner-Johnson trash talking on social media with Deebo Samuel, I don't care what he says as long as there's no personal fouls. And then there was a personal foul. I'm ready to say goodbye to CJ Gardner-Johnson. He was here on a 1-year deal. He was fantastic in training camp. He took a lot of the young guys under his wing. He was a terrific leader. Then he got hurt. We said it was going to be a rough loss for the Lions. And actually, to be quite honest, Kirby Joseph got better as the year wore on, kind of started off slow. Ife Melifonwu was really, really good. And as we know, came on toward the end of the year, right? Brian Branch was good. He could play safety. He could play nickel. The Lions are going to be just fine on the back end in their safety, in their secondary room, right? Gardner-Johnson was on a 1-year deal. He comes back from injury, which was great. It's like, hey, the guy worked hard to come back. He had the rib injury or whatever it was. And then says, oh, I didn't come back to share snaps. Shut up. I was reading, I didn't come back to be a part-time player. Well, you know what? You were the lowest graded defensive player. It's like the Marcus Camby meme. Bye. He's on a 1-year deal. Goodbye. Not needed. All right. There's plenty of guys in that set. We could say Cam Sutton, get out, but you know what? Tell me who else is playing corner next year right now, other than Branch. The Lions need corners. They gave Cam Sutton a pretty big contract for 3 years. Start of the year, he was their best corner and played well. I don't know what happened toward the end of the year. Maybe we'll come to find out that hamstring injury he had toward the end of the season was limiting him. He struggled for the last month and a half. But I'd rather have Cam Sutton back next year than Gardner-Johnson or CD Deuce or whatever his name is. I'm done. I'm good. Trash talking with Deebo, whatever. Not good enough player. It's the reason the Saints and Eagles told him to walk. It's the reason the Lions got him on a cheap 1-year, $6.5 million deal. No one else wanted him. And I have no inside info on if he was a headache or a problem in the locker room. But after last night's performance, I'm ready to move on. Want to bring in another safety? I mean, they got Tracy Walker coming back. I don't know if the Lions will cut him because he was a healthy scratch the last few weeks. Certainly Gardner-Johnson's a better player than Walker most of the time, but I think I'm ready to move on there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions did the same. Get some good young pieces in that secondary. Melifonwu was coming on. Joseph is terrific at times. Good ball hawk. Branch is awesome. I think we're good on number 2. So that's how I feel about that. There do need to be upgrades on that defense. The Lions desperately need corners. They need another edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Probably need another D tackle next to Aleem McNeil. But next year, if they go into the season with Joseph and Melifonwu as their starting safeties, thumbs up. I'm down for that. Interesting interview that took place today by a Lions assistant coach. We'll see where that goes. Coming up next, right here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today is sponsored by BetterHelp. It is brought to you by our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes we need the opportunity to get something off of our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you. It has been a rough 24 hours for many of us because of what the Lions meant to the city and all of you, the fans. And I'm not telling you that just because your football team lost that you should talk to somebody and get some help with therapy. All right. There's bigger things in life than football and certainly your team. But think about it this way. This team touched you in many ways and got to you, and you reminisced about your family and your father taking you to games, or your grandfather or your mom or dad or whomever, right? Might be a good time to talk about how you feel and how it made you feel with somebody. All right. I would suggest a therapist from BetterHelp. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, so the Lions, as we know, are likely going to lose offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Sounds like he's going to the Washington Commanders. I've been told that by a couple of his sources. I know he's got interviews with the Seahawks and the Commanders, and Commanders are talking to Anthony Weaver and other people, and Washington's making other rounds as well. But it sounds to me like it's going to be Ben Johnson in Washington and Mike McDonald, the former Michigan defensive coordinator and current Ravens defensive coordinator, in Seattle with the Seahawks. Now, we know this. The Tampa Bay Bucks have lost Dave Canales, their offensive coordinator, did a whale of a job this year, as he is now the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. And he got a 6-year deal. Dave Canales was not known around the coaching circles until this season. But yet, I think many assistants shy away from that job. David Tepper, their owner, is a bit of a headache. But Canales, who did a really good job with Baker Mayfield this year, is going to be the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So Todd Bowles and the folks down in Tampa need a new OC. Today, according to reports, Lions wide receivers coach Antoine Randall L. interviewed for the Bucs offensive coordinator job. Now remember, if Ben Johnson leaves, or when Ben Johnson leaves, I'm assuming that Dan Campbell would interview both Antoine Randall L. and Mark Brunell, Lions quarterbacks coach. Heck, I would think also he would interview Hank Fraley, offensive line coach. Now, again, I've heard from a few sources Fraley could be a package deal going with Ben Johnson to Washington. So keep an eye on that. Of course, Fraley has been the offensive line coach here for years. He has done a fantastic job. But the Lions are going to lose some assistants. Now, last year, after winning 9 games, Todd Wash left for Carolina. Lions also needed a new tight ends coach. Deuce Staley left. So when you win and have successful teams, your coaches get poached. That's just how it goes. So Aaron Glenn, I think, is interviewing with Seattle. I don't think he's going to get it. Way in Washington, like I said, it's going to be Ben Johnson and Mike McDonald. But Antoine Randall L. interviewing for the Bucs job is great for him. Offensive coordinator job. That's awesome. But you have to figure the Lions know what's going on with Ben Johnson and that Randall L. would want to stay here first. But getting an opportunity to talk to Tampa is great. This goes to show that this is a good staff and that it's a staff that people around the league respect. And the Lions now for 2 seasons have had attrition in their coaching ranks. And that's okay. When you've got depth at your staff and you've got a Brunell waiting the wings or a Fraley or a Randall L., you know, Kelvin Shepard is a guy that I think down the road could be a defensive coordinator. That's the linebackers coach. This is why this team won 14 games this year. Talent level is way up. We know that. All right, you got a quarterback. You've got a stud tight end, a stud right tackle, all these things. But you got a good staff. And these guys have coached up this group. They've improved. They've gotten better every week. And for the last 3 years, they've gone from 3 wins to 9 to this year, 12 in the regular season, 14 if you count the 2 playoff wins. I know I said it earlier. I'll say it again. I think they can get back to that championship game next year. I really do. Kansas City is there every year. San Francisco has been there for the last 5. Why can't the Lions do this? They're young. Yeah, they're going to be like Dan Campbell said, people are coming after them next year. They're going to play a ton of national television games. You don't think that Lions-Niners rematch next year is not going to be on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football? Of course. The Lions had a ton of games this year at night, flexed, whatever it was. They did just fine. Tough pill to swallow from yesterday. Too many missed opportunities, too many mistakes, fumbles, missed tackles, not being able to down a punt at the 1-yard line. All right, coaching mistakes. But I love the shape that this team is in. All right, we'll line up a few guests for this week. We'll also check in at the Senior Bowl as well this week. That is going on. We did not forget about that. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts right here on Locked On Lions.